YouTube, welcome back to the Bison Workshop. I'm Bob, and today we're going to revisit the Bandsaw treadmill motor upgrade. Now, as you seen in the last video, I showed you how to wire up the controllers and stuff like that, and we're going to go ahead and get started on this bandsaw. Now, got my trunk coffee this morning. So anyway, let's go ahead and show you what we got going on. Now it's a mess over here because I just don't have a whole lot of places to put stuff. Anyway, here's the bandsaw, and as everybody knows, I put it up in there so that when I raise it, it goes into this slot. Yeah, it opens my cabinet, but I believe that once I get this controller out of the way, we're going to eliminate this controller and we're going to put a door back on here, but we're going to cut this part of the door out in the shape of this and make it look kind of presentable so that when it's in line, when it's into place, you know, you can just reach up there and grab that and pull it down. Alright, but we're going to make a lot of noise. We're going to eliminate this controller. We're going to move this switch into the unit itself. We may go with another type switch. These rocker switches, you have to cut a square hole, and I'm not going to be making no square hole in my bandsaw, because this is the kind of switch that's down here for shutting off the bandsaw motor. Alright, but we're going to put another switch in line for power to everything somewhere. So what we want to do is we're going to take this bandsaw, and I am not looking forward to this, off of the bench and unhook the wires to the treadmill motor that I've already got set up here. And I'll show you a little more about this pulley here in a few minutes. But anyway, it may be another video, I don't know. Alright, we've got our wires going up to our controller, and I'm pretty sure that it just unplugs. Yeah, I put a 6, I got it mounted right now. I'm going to take that mount off so I can get these freed up. This here's the plug wire, and this one is your plug that goes down to the motor. So we're going to take that loose now and get that out of the way and free up the motor, and just wrap the cord around the motor, and then we have to unhook our kill switch for the motor. So when the cut's done, so I'll get this off, get it unbolted, and next, I guess the next scene is you'll see it on the bench. So I'm not going to rush. So we was originally going to use this box. So I'm pretty certain that this box is not going to be used. What I'm going to do is I'm either going to try to mount this up underneath there somewhere. If worst comes to worst, I'll have to take the board out of this and make some stands for that, and bolt this to underneath that. Then the potentiometer, we can just run wires to it and put the potentiometer anywhere. So we need to find a place to hook up the board, or to mount the board, a place to mount the potentiometer, and a place to mount the transformer. So we got 3 components that And we got to mount the bridge rectifier underneath there somewhere too. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4 things we got to mount underneath there. So we got to take it off of there, turn it upside down, and just place them in a good location. There's going to be drilling and tapping involved. Hopefully I got all the taps I need for the sizes that I need. So anyway, stay tuned. Alright guys, I thought I'd just go ahead and do a speed up version of this. So enjoy the music. Alright, so now we've got it unbolted from the stands, and those things are not easy to work with. We're going to eliminate all this cord, and as you can see, that's how I had it running last time. And I have another transformer I can use for my drill press. The reason I'm using my bandsaw as a guinea pig for all this testing is because I want to get this right before I get on the drill press. So if all this works for this, then I'm going to do my drill press the same way. So we're just going to eliminate this, and we're probably just going to leave this controller the way it is, because it is a pretty decent controller. It can be used for something else. So now I'll clean my bench off, and we'll be back with this on the bench. Alright guys, so now what we got here is we've already got our switch for shutting off the motor. Alright, so we don't need to do anything with that except for to bring this cord in and unattach it and reroute it. Alright, so now we're going to try to figure out where we want to put this box. Now we can try to mount that up in there. Of course, we're going to take this off, so let's just go and do that right now if I can find a screwdriver. And then we'll take this potentiometer off of here, because we're not going to be using this potentiometer, and we really don't need the plate, although we can put the plate on it just to protect it from the elements, which is probably what we're going to end up doing. So we're just going to slide that out, unplug it, and we're going to slide that out of there. We don't need that. So then we'll take the knob off and take the potentiometer out of it. Alright, so now that's all we need. So we're not going to put that on yet. We're going to see if we can find a place to mount this. And be in a location where you're not going to be messing around underneath of it, because you don't want to be reaching underneath there to fix something over here and accidentally touch something you shouldn't be touching. So we're going to try to shoot for in this area right here. So now we know where we want to try to put it underneath here. Then we can, let's see, it'd be nice if we were still able to slide this on and off in case you need to get in there and work on it. So that's not going to work right there, and it won't. And it might go that far. I'll have to trim a little bit of this here off to overcome that hump, but I could put it there and it still don't have enough room. Alright, so well, how about, that's really my only option, so it's just, there's no way of getting around it. We're going to have to put the plate on it, then mount it on there. So now we've got to figure out how we're going to mount it. It's got the fins on it underneath there, so that may not work. And it's too close to the bottom. So I don't know where to put this. Everywhere you look, it's going to be hard to mount it. Let's go down here in the middle, because first of all, let's unwrap this. This thing's a little awkward to work with right now. Well, anyway, I'm getting off point here. Alright, so we're going to try to figure out a way to mount this. So we need to put this in there. Then we need to put this in there somewhere. So we may be able to mount the box on one side and mount that on the other side. Since this is not going to be going outside no more, this is going to be moved out of the way, and I need that moved out of the way right this minute. Alright, so we're going to move this in here, and we're going to leave that right where it's at. Alright, so we got to mount this somewhere underneath here. So let's start rearranging some stuff here and see if we can make this work. So we got that in line over there. We got that there. I'm a little concerned because this here comes out, but this is in a place where I'm never going to be anyway, so it's possible I can mount that right there. Alright, so I don't want to, I got a hinge over here, so I don't want to be underneath that. So what I'll do is I'll put this on this side, because that'll go about right there, and then I'll put this on this side so that I'm on my flat surface on the other side, so that I can just drill a hole, put a countersink bolt on the top side and bring it down and mount this, mount the transformer there. And yes, we're going to clean that thing up and paint it before we put it in here. Alright, so we've got that component, the bridge rectifier, the controller mounted. That's where we're going to mount those, we think. We may have to do the same thing over here, just drill a hole straight through, because you can see this thing here. We're probably going to have to modify this. We're probably going to have to take and bend that out flat somewhat, course, I'll do a better job of it later, but I'll take it over to Bison and kind of flatten that out. We can put that right there just like that. Slide that up on there. Well, if I can hit the hole, slide that up on there just like that. And just rebend that in another location. Just put a little screw there on the side. That'll work. Alright, so we still got protection for this. Now I may put something over top of this somehow. I don't know. Maybe a piece of plastic. So this thing here should have came out here instead of out the top. This would have worked great. That's why I wanted to desolder that and move it, but it's going to be more of a pain than anything to try to remount this, because you're not going to be able to remount it to something else without it shorting out. So you'd have to have a lug system that would actually bolt in here, and you just run your wires to the lugs. But we're going to go this route, and we're going to try to mount that right there. Bend this down, tap that, or drill it, tap it, and put a screw in there and just drill a hole here, and it'll mount to this instead of this. So we're going to try that. Alright, so then, and let's pretend we got all that in there. Alright, then we're going to use this potentiometer, which is a 500K, I hope. This is awful narrow. There's not a whole lot of threads there, so I'd like to find one that's got threads on it that much, because this metal here is thick, and I got to figure out a location to put it, and I'm not sure how I'm going to do that. I wanted to drill a hole somewhere in here and have this. If I put it here, it's going to be in the way of my handle. I don't want to be hitting it all the time and break it. Alright, I could put it now. I thought about putting it over here, but then it's going to be underneath this rod. That's not going to work. So I don't really want to put it in underneath my spring and the rod. I'm wondering why they put such a big case or cover over that. I wonder if I can redesign that cover. Find something to block that up with. It's trying to fall over on me. Get these screws out of this and see what they got going on here. I forgot what it's like underneath there. If it wasn't for that housing, I don't know if I'm going to have enough room to put the potentiometer right beside that, but if I do have enough room, that means that now we're going to take this out. Actually, I don't need to take that off. I just need to take the handle off. Alright, so now we got our handle off. And that's only so that we can get that box off. Alright, so now we're going to take that box off and look and see if we have, I think this is the knob we're going to use. I may have to use that one, and I really don't want to, because this one here is the wrong, wait a minute, this is 500K. 2 watt. So, well, this is already a 500K. And it does have the long shank on it. Alright, so it's a little big and it's probably not going to fit. And if it does fit, it's going to be too close to the switch. So that's not going to work. Alright, so let's put this back in there to make sure we don't forget that goes in there. And see if we can find another location. So we know we don't want to put it on this end. We know we don't want to put it here. So it's starting to get to the point where I believe I'm going to have to run a bracket somewhere. Unless I didn't do the plate and I could bring that potentiometer out here a little further. Now that would work, and then I just wouldn't have the cover to go over it, which kind of sucks. I'd rather have that cover on there. And then we just run these wires right along this wire and into this other enclosure here, or hold down, and into the system. So I think that's what we're going to do. Before we do that though, I don't know how thick that is. I gotta find something else to block under. Alright, so we're going to try to find something here to put under. Alright, now we're going to measure from the center of the switch all the way to the top edge of that and lock it down. So from the center of this switch to the bottom of this, and then we're going to come over here, get us a marker, and then we're going to mark us a hole or a line right there, just a little one. Alright, then I want to try to figure out where this is going to mount. So right about right where that dot is. So now we're just going to take the dot and we're going to make it a cross. Alright. Now we get to drill it. Alright, so now we're going to take and punch this to give us a little divot so that we don't walk offline. Now we're going to trim that hole out a little bit. Cleaned up a little bit. So now we get to test our potentiometer. Now this thing's got a lug on it here that kind of needs to be bent out of the way. So we're going to take and bend that over. Find something to bend it over with. Alright, so now we've got that one bent over too. Now we'll go ahead and stick this in. And then well, we're not going to use the washer. Now I'll show you what I got going on here. What I'm going to do is this. I'm going to set that in there, and I got it a little close to this edge here. I probably could have went over that way just a hair more, just to make it so it'd be flat. I mean, it's kind of flat there. It's a little, it's up in this corner real bad. I could take a die grinder and kind of grind that corner out a little bit, but I'm not going to do all that. So now, what I've got, the wires pointing straight back. Now I can take this panel here, put it back on there, and just cut that section of it out of this plastic so that it covers the wires on that, and the potentiometer is not going to be in danger of getting anything on it that's going to be a pain in the butt or cause any problems. So we'll just cut that out and make that fit over top of it. So I'll do that, and then we'll be back and show you what I did. Alright, so now we've got the potentiometer mounted in here, and we're just going to take and splice these two wires and extend them so that this plug will reach all the way to the other end to the controller. So we're just going to kind of run that underneath there, something like that, and then run it back up underneath that, and then these wires will be contained. I cut a hole in the side of this so that that would miss the potentiometer. So now I just got to, once I get going here and get this thing, I can just mount that right there just like that. The switch is still protected. Potentiometer's here on this side, and then the knob will go on there just like that. Alright, so we may need to redo this and get a different potentiometer. It says it's a 500K, and that's what I need, but unless they'd redesigned this by the time I bought the new controller, I seen a review or a how-to to hook these motors up, and he changed this. So they might have redesigned it after he did that video, and then I bought a updated version apparently. But we'll try it and see if this here is the right one. If not, we'll just have to get another one. But that's about the best place I can put it without it being in the way of anything else. The switch that comes down, or the lever that comes down on this, you can see, you know, it's way far away from it, and it's not going to hit it. So I think that'll work. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, I'm going to leave this off because I want to splice this and split it in the middle so that it's underneath the housing when I go to tape it up or heat shrink it. like all the rest of these are. We don't want the connected wires to be outside of the protected area. And once I've done that, put that all underneath there like that, nice and neat without pinching them. We'll put that there, and then we'll get us some more of this loom right here. So we'll just run all this underneath there and splice it there so it's underneath the protected box. And what's sticking out here, we will probably use some of this wire loom cover, just a little short piece to go just long enough to cover this up, make it look a little neater. Who knows, I might shorten these green and white one so it lays down there a little like the other ones and heat shrink the whole thing. We want this to look professional. Now the reason I'm doing all this is so that the bandsaw is pretty much contained to its own power source. So if you ever wanted to sell this, you wouldn't have to sell them a controller on a cord. They have to carry it like that, and then you got to figure out how to mount your control board and stuff like that. We're really not interested in doing all that much work. So we're trying to make it contain to the bandsaw itself. So now that we've got our location as to where we're going to try to put this stuff, we're going to try to go ahead and mount all this stuff. Now I've done mounted the potentiometer and got it wired underneath the protecting housing, and we got to be careful back here on the back side that we're not in the way of the nut that goes on the outside to hold it on the bracket on the bench. So I believe we're good. Let me put you back down here. I believe we're good because the bolt comes in here. We're going to have plenty of room to get in there and put the nut on it. Now see, this is what I meant by I'd like to have something to cover this right here. Because you're going to be underneath there. Of course you're going to have it unplugged when you're putting it together. But I'd just like to have some kind of something over top of that to keep metal shavings from blowing up on the contacts and stuff like that. So we might try to figure out another way to cover this. Alright, so we're going to mount the I think we're going to mount the transformer there. That way I still have enough room to put the bolts in this side too. Alright, so, because we don't want to be in the way of these. I can still get a wrench on them. And then it really doesn't matter about the bridge rectifier. You can pretty much mount that anywhere you want. So that's how I'm thinking to doing it. So this will end part 1 of the bandsaw DC motor upgrade. My camera's down here on the other side. Matter of fact, let me show you that while I'm doing this. I was trying this GoPro Hero 2 and this is the setup I have. And like I said, this just slides down on my tripod. And I went and got the Sony mic, and it's worse than the regular speaker that's in the camera, so we're gonna have to try another mic. I'm not going to try too many mics because I just simply can't afford it. So I may or may not be able to use this camera. It's got good video, it just got really sucky sound. And I'm seeing online that all the GoPro Heroes had sucky sound, so I guess it's just trial and error. But anyway, that's gonna end part 1 of the Bandsaw treadmill motor upgrade revisited. So anyway, don't you guys forget to like, subscribe, comment, share. If you want to contribute to the shop to keep the shop going, you can PayPal that. Anything that you want to put towards the shop at bisonworkshop@gmail.com, and just PayPal through there. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and you guys have a good one. Later.